So before we dive into the topic that we have today, I just wanted to open it up to anyone on the call if there was anything specific you wanted to bring forward to the group today. I'm seeing a lot of head shaking no. Okay, so one of the things that we wanted to start with was we're towards the end of 2025. Whether you're a president or a president-elect, was there anything that surprised you this year in your role? Okay. What about Eric? I see you came off mute.
I was just gonna say no surprises are a good thing.
Yes, I was going to say that's great. That means, people are communicating out of the roles, the responsibilities. Is there anything that you would have done differently this year? That's also good. That if you think of that, please let us know. For the ones who are president and you're ending your term, and I think, let's see, really that's just Jim and Roxanne. Is there any advice for president-elects as they are going into the end of this year or as they are going to be starting their term in January as president? And Roxanne, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, we're a fairly small group as well. So we're learning, not just me transitioning, but one of the things was the president-elect not really knowing what to do. I was the president-elect the year before. I thought I was just kind of learning and whatever you need. Next year, we've decided to give that president-elect some duties. And we're really focusing next year on building committees. So the president-elect is going to be over the committees and trying to make sure they have charters. Are they following their charters, and trying to coach them along so that those committees are even stronger next year.
Yep. And just to let the group kind of know, again, Roxanne had mentioned she's with a smaller chapter, and the board has pretty much done all of the responsibilities that a lot of committees would do. And so they've seen tremendous growth this year. So congratulations out in Kentucky, Roxanne. I know you guys have been working really hard and doing some really great public campaigns. And so we're at that stage where we have more people wanting to get involved. And so that committee structure can take place. So congratulations for your chapter for all of that hard work and being able to move to that next step. And I think this will also be a great place for as the chapter is going through that process to have people as a part of that. Hey, what has worked, what hasn't? I know we've got a lot of the charters and everything for the different committees, but please share that this is a great space to get some of that feedback as you're growing in that way.
Wait, can I comment?
Yeah, go right ahead, Bruce.
And it goes back to your question also a minute ago about surprises or all that. Roxanne, what you just said makes perfect sense. I'm president-elect, and in our bylaws it says, okay, and maybe this is true everywhere, national, but I'm supposed to look at the committees and appoint the chairs, and it's like, yeah, I've been on some committees, and yeah, I know lots of people, but I don't know everybody, and I don't know all the committees and what they're doing, and I feel uncomfortable about replacing somebody that might be doing a good job because it's somebody I know and work with and all. So what you just said you're going to do, Roxanne, makes perfect sense. And I've talked to our new executive director, and I get along great, and we're all excited and want to do stuff. And I think we'll put something in our bylaws about assigning a president-elect, so they'll get to know the committees and get to know everybody. So when it comes their time to make the committee chair appointments, they're going to know what they're talking about.
That's great. That's set up for success. Wendy, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, so I've been president of a neighboring chapter. I was on the board there for 6 years, and I'm now president of elect for a different chapter. But one of the things that we've done, and I don't know if this will help you, Bruce, if you're already rewriting your bylaws, is that the committees come to us with a chair recommendation. And one of the things that I took from our old chapter that I've just integrated with our bylaw amendment and our writing of our charters for our committees is that there really wasn't a succession plan. And so what we've done is the goal is to have a chair be a chair for 2 years with a vice chair. And sometimes they're co-chairs for various reasons, but either way, there's a succession plan. So it's like a 4-year succession plan, because often what happens is people join a committee and then they become vice chair and then they become a chair and then they come to the board. And so it gives a really nice build in. What we have done is not, basically hard-lined it, meaning if there's no one who's ready to step up, we do put a caveat in there that if nobody wants to step up and somebody is willing, the goal is to try to continue this succession plan as much as possible. But then the board just ratifies the chairs, but it's really the committee who helps give the leadership of who's doing a lot of the fundamental work on that committee. So I don't know if that would help you or not, but it's really helped. It's funny, I came from a little bit of a smaller chapter and a neighbor, and we had that in place, and then we brought it to a much bigger chapter, and it's been fantastic. So I don't know if that'll help you or not.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Our current president appointed an ad hoc committee because we have a retired brigadier general who wants to make sure we have everything in written policies. He's a really good guy and he wants to put in the effort. So they're reviewing all the committee structures and all the charters. But he wanted to put something in place where there would be a succession of, co-chair to chair and all. But I was the one that said, wait, time out. If you do that, then that kind of eliminates the president-elect's picking the committee chairs. It would be somebody else that put a co-chair in place maybe a year or two, whenever before, and they'll then become chair after a couple of years when it's their turn. So what does that do to the president-elect getting to choose?
The president-elect in our chapter doesn't ever choose the chairs. It's never historically been that. The president-elect literally acts like a VP. In our chapter, they work really closely with the president and the ED. And anytime there's kind of a decision that needs to be made that doesn't require the full board, it's usually the 3 of us. And that's also how it was when I was on the other chapter. So it's not that there was no role for the president-elect, but it was just that they weren't in charge of something that a lot of times, at least for us, we have so many committees. I'm not going to go in to a committee of 20 people or 15 people because we also allow anyone to join, provide that it doesn't affect the workability of the committee. It doesn't get too large. So we don't term out on committees, and we also don't tell you that it's too many people and you can't join. We're very inclusive, but I think the committee knows best who's their leader, as opposed to just me being president-elect and having to then go to maybe 20 committees meetings for a year to determine who I think is best. So that's why we've done it this way. It may not work for your chapter, but it really has helped with succession planning because it lets people who want to step up and it put their name in the hat. And then it also lets people who I just want to be a worker bee and I just want to be on this committee, stay there. But there's a role for everybody.
Jim,
and then we have liaisons.
Yeah, Jim, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, I was going to say in our chapter, we don't have anything. The committees pick their own chairs and we don't want to get involved in that.
Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah, we just ratify them at our board transition meeting. But we do assign every committee a board liaison. And sometimes that's 2 or 3. As a board member, I might be a liaison for 2 or 3 committees.
I have to tell you, I like it a lot more that the committee would choose their own chair because they all know who's the worker bee and who's the leader. And I don't. And I'm really uncomfortable going down the list of current chairs and saying, oh, you're out and you're in. And a good example, not to belabor this, our business partner committee is really active, do a lot of events. The chair got elected to the board, so she's going to step down. She's a marketing rep for a business partner. Really does a lot. And she asked the committee to send her nominations and we'll decide who's going to be our new chair. And our executive director wrote to her and said, hey, wait, our bylaws say that president-elect does that. And Amanda's response was, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't mean to overstep her bounds, but I thought, all I'm going to do is look at those nominations and see who they want. So what, yeah. you guys have already given me some ideas how we should change our bylaws and make it all work better.
Yeah, that's the,
Cynthia,
so go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, Cynthia, I saw you come off mute a couple of times. Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think they actually talked about it. Wendy brought it up at the end. What we've done, because it is states that in the bylaws, we just have the board liaison, and Wendy brought that up. And it was just, we're at the meetings, we get to know who wants to be a chair. That's a good way to kind of not have to change your bylaws, but I do like the opportunity for the committees to select their chair. So
Great.
I'm gonna take that back and have that discussion, because I think that's a great idea as well.
Great. Diana, did you have anything regarding to this topic, or did you want to change to a new
No,
one?
I actually had something regarding this
Oh,
topic. I
okay,
had
great.
questions on. I did raise my hand, I lowered it. So I was curious on how that worked with Wendy. Was it Wendy? Like, do you have something in writing that is in your bylaws? Is there like a SOP on that? Because one of the things that our chapter has done, and that and I like what you're saying, but at the on the other side, we put it on our board, to the entire board, to look for leadership. So the board kind of looks to see who's engaged in our chapter, of our chairs, our board, and our committee members. But and is we've kind of all said, well, we think this person would be a good education chair, and this person would be a good chair for membership. And so then some of the board members will be the liaisons. We'll either have one liaison. I'm sorry, let me turn my phone off it constantly. Or we'll have a co-liaisons, right, from the board, and they're just a guide. And then what we do is, when it comes time to the nominations and the slate, we have a point system that we use, and all of this leads into looking for new leadership and mentoring new leadership for the board. So I'm curious if you have something that we may be able to like look at what you have and implement in ours, because so far it's worked this way.
Mhm.
And then anyone that doesn't get nominated and has been engaged, and because we're looking for people who understand, our members who are engaged, understand the mission of national, which is also our mission, right? So that they're not like brand new, thrown in, and don't really understand it just because they think they want to run and be on the board, to be on the board for their businesses or for whatever the reasons are that they are, on. This way, you're looking for people that are very engaged, want to grow the chapter, want to either get designations, or, whatever their, the mission is of their personal, like summer cams that want to move up, become PCAMs, summer business partners that want to just get very actively engaged and get the designations, and maybe eventually teach with CAI, things like that. So I
Yep.
think that if you have something that would be good, that could be incorporated.
So we just have criteria for which you have to meet to run for the board. So, and I can give you a brief example, and we can take it offline, but basically, to even run for the board, you have to be obviously a member of the chapter. You have to have served on a committee. You have
Right.
to have either published, spoken, or volunteered for a number of years. Like you have to check like 4 or 5 boxes, and that actually automatically brings the people who are active and who understand CAI and who have been there a bit. If you're new, then we recommend you join a committee, or we recommend you get co-publish with someone, or you speak with someone. So it automatically takes a little bit of time to serve on our board because you have to meet that right criteria. But sometimes we have people that like come out like gangbusters. They join the industry and they are just, you can tell, they might win our rising star. And so we put them in positions by being on committees, and then they may volunteer to be a vice chair, and then they get to be chair, and pretty quickly within a year or two, they'd be able to meet those conditions. So we don't punish people, but yeah, I'm happy to correspond with you offline. So if you want to just put your email in the chat, I can send you the criteria.
Yeah. I like it, Wendy, because it would expand a little bit on what we've tried to do. And I think it would be actually good to incorporate some of the ideas that you have into ours. And I'm happy to, share ours, because it's at this point, we realize that there is a little tweak that we have to make in our bylaws. that we updated, I think 3 years ago. There's a small little tweak that we want to clarify with the term of when do the 90 days begin if somebody resigns from your board. So since we're doing that little tweak, we need to then do the, it would be nice to tweak that point. It's a point system, but it sounds like it's the same thing as yours. X amount for being a chair, X amount for articles, X amount for engagement, activities, etc. So it sounds like it'll work. I think it's great. This is a good
Yeah,
conversation.
and just to clarify, we don't do a point system. You just have to meet these requirements to to run for the board. And we moved away from a slate. We do a popular vote and we get like 500 people voting. So it's nice because the general population votes for their board members. So that's just something that works for us. But we
I actually like that voting, the popular vote too. So it'd be interesting to see how you have that criteria, because I know when I got elected to the board, I had a popular vote. That's how I got elected.
Sure.
So
So I can pull that information together.
that would be, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Wendy, if you want to send that over to me as well, we'll get that a part of our toolkit, because
Perfect.
then as others want to reference it too, we can go ahead and do that. I do want to mention one thing. I've heard a couple people mentioning updating their bylaws. Just make sure all bylaws changes have to be approved by us here at headquarters before the board approves them. There are some parts of the language that are mandatory that actually link back to our national bylaws. And so we just want to make sure that none of that, or there's any conflicts between the two. So just before the board has your final vote, any bylaw changes, just send them over to any of us here as a part of the chapter relations team. We'll review those, make sure that it's good to go. And then also, once they do get approved, your staff should make sure that we have that finalized, updated version, because we do hold on to a copy of all chapter bylaws, and they can either do that through recertification, or they can submit that to it. If it takes place in June, for example, they can send it over to us in June, so they don't have to worry about it during the recertification process.
And thank you for that, Kelly. And it's small tweak, but if there's any other tweak, I mean, we know that with us
Yeah.
because we follow all the rules with you guys. So we know that we're going to do that. It's just, it's something that was identified just recently in this past election. So we identified it in November. The board discussed it at strategic planning, and it's something that's on our plate, a very small tweak. But yes, we'll let you know, because we also need to probably ask about this, with you guys.
And
It was just a-
I do like to mention too that the Board of Trustees is actually going through a revision of our bylaws at the headquarters level. And with that, some of that will trickle down to the chapter. So after that is complete, we will put together a task force of chapter executive directors, likely some chapter presidents, to take a look at how our chapter bylaws fit into that. So if any of you, just a blanket statement, if any of you are looking to do any major changes, I might recommend holding off. I do not have a timeline of what that will be, but it will be this year. And then so if you're just looking to do, kind of some major revisions, Joyce, you may have an update. You're on the Board of Trustees.
Well, I'm on the bylaws task force.
Oh, yay.
And the Board of Trustees.
Even better.
We're aiming for somewhere between March and June to finish.
Okay. So likely it will take us the next half of the year to kind of make sure we have the model chapter bylaws.
Right.
So if you want to do those small tweaks, that's probably good. But if you're looking kind of overall to look at your bylaws, hold off. I have a huge list of things that have come up from some of your chapters,
Right.
that we need to look at in the model chapter bylaws. So we're going to be doing that. If you have anything, things that you question or would like us to look at, please send them my way as well, and I'll add them to the list for us to consider.
So I would like to send this to Joyce and you, Emily. I'll email it to you guys, not today. I'm not even next week, but I'll get it to you like in the next 2 weeks, because it was just a little tweak of where we had a member resign, but we were in the middle of an election, right? So our bylaws state 90 days prior, but it doesn't say when, prior to the election, Prior to when? And then you have to appoint within 60 days of the resignation. So that's just the tweak that we need to clarify. We understood it, the board went ahead and understood it as, or the executive committee does, prior to the election. So we went ahead and we were in compliance and went ahead and went through with what we needed to do. But it does give you a moment to pause and say, wait a second, is it prior to what? We don't know,
great.
because then you're held hostage for 6 months, 90 days
Okay.
prior to what? And then 90 days prior, like, what is it? What were we interpreting? So we went ahead and just interpreted it with the attorney, though, with the association, well, I mean, our attorney too. To go ahead and consider it or interpret it as long as it's 90 days prior to an election date. So the date of the election was, as long as it wasn't, we couldn't appoint anybody 90 days prior to an election, but not 90 days after, because then that holds you hostage for a long time. So that was the little tweak. I don't think
Great.
you guys have that in yours, right, Emily?
We do not. No.
That,
So
see, that
I'll
was
make,
something that was our chapter. That's why.
yeah,
Okay.
I'll make a note of that. Kelly, one of the other things that stood out to me in this conversation is a couple of you have mentioned updating your bylaws with some of these very specific requirements for committees or what the role is and all of that. Also check with us, because some of this stuff is better done by a policy than making your bylaws super specific in those areas. So I just wanted to point that out, Kelly.
No, that's great.
And just real quick, those bylaws were done recently, and I believe that it was with national, they were sent to national as well for approval. So they were done in the last 3.
We've had a couple people join us. So kind of the topics that we threw out of part of this discussion was for any of the presidents who are on the call, if there was any advice that they had. But also, is there anything that you would do differently over this past year? And that includes our president-elects. So I'd like to open that up to either any presidents who have any additional pieces of advice for our president-elects, or again, any of our president-elects that would like to reference, hey, I would have done this a little bit differently this year now that we're towards the end of this part of my role. All right. Well, while you guys are thinking on that, one thing that did come up during this past conversation was recertification. And so that process is open as of right now. So I know we went through that. We've got a video that all of you should have watched about recertification, broke it down for you. That is due every January. So by the end of January, that is due. Your chapter staff usually takes care of that process, but you as president-elect will be signing off, and as president, you will be signing off. So that is something that you should make sure that everything has been submitted correctly. It is an online portal that they can link you to the submission. Some people go over just the checklist, just making sure everything was submitted correctly. Others actually go into the portal. So just make sure that you're actually, having that conversation with your chapter staff who's in charge of that. And then that way, you can make sure you're just not signing your name to something hoping that they did submit everything. But does anyone have any questions about chapter recertification, whether there was a certain item that stuck out to you or anything that you have questions on within that process?
Kelly, would you want to highlight the things that we'll be adding to the next year too?
Absolutely. And Bruce, I did see you had your hand up, so I'll let you go first.
Just gonna ask a dumb question. What happens if a chapter is not recertified? What happens to that chapter?
Yeah, so we do have a probation scale. Emily or Alicia, if you don't mind dropping the documentation into it, we do have a couple different levels of it. If it is something that's rectifiable, we will hold rebates, for example, and say, until you do this, we will be holding your rebates back. If it's a continued issue and problem, potentially we can revoke the chapter. We haven't gotten to that stage, I don't think, ever in the process. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong there. If it's not something that's rectifiable in that year, so for example, one of our requirements is sending quarterly newsletters. Well, we can't go back in time and say, hey, you didn't send any last year, we're going to hold your rebates for the year. So we usually have a discussion. What was the issue? What were the problems? How do we rectify this? How do we move forward to make sure that you're meeting this requirement? But if it's something that's happening, then the next year nothing changed. That's when it starts to become deeper. But usually chapters do work through those issues within that. If you are concerned about any of the areas of recertification and your chapter meeting those requirements, please talk to us. And so we can work through some solutions with you or what some of those challenges might be. Wendy, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just heard it mentioned that there was a video that we should have received a link to. Can you put that in the chat? Because I don't recall that. I mean, I know I was part of a little bit of the recertification last year with Eric, but I'd like to see it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And if we don't get it dropped in here, we'll make sure we get it out in that weekly email that we send as well. So you guys have that
Awesome.
link.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So Emily mentioned that there are a couple changes that are coming into play. The major one next year is that by the end of the year, you will need to do a review of your CED. So currently that is not one of the requirements. And so we feel that it is important that you as the board are making sure that you're having that conversation with your main staff person. It's not a report that you need to submit or anything. It's just going to be a checkbox of, yes, this took place. So again, you as the board can make that decision of, is there a full template that you're doing? Is it a full meeting? Is it a one-on-one? Looking at a lot of people on this call, I have a feeling that you're already doing that in some capacity with your staff. But so that is something that will be changing this coming year. We do have that as a part of the recertification this year, so that if anyone who is already doing that, they can go ahead and say, okay, we're going down the right path. And as a reminder to everyone else that, hey, this is coming this next year. So that will be a part of the 2027 submission for the 2026 calendar year. Go ahead, Bruce.
When you used the initials, what was it that we're supposed to review? Was it the recertification?
So it is your chapter executive director. So Holly, you would be doing a review for her.
Oh, okay. Got it. Makes perfect sense.
Having a conversation with them, not just that you did it and she has no idea, is she being beneficial, is she not, that sort of thing. And we understand that some chapters, they do it on the anniversary of their hiring, some do it around budget season, some do it at the end of the year. So there's not a specific time period we're saying that needs to take place, but it should be happening at least once a year with your staff, with your CED staff.
And Kelly, I'm sorry, you said you're sending us that form because
It's a part of our toolkit. We have a form on there of a review recommendation. Again, if you are doing one and you think you have a great one at your chapter level, please send it over. I know some of them change. I know, Wendy, you guys had a great one when I was a part of that process as well. So again, it's more just making sure that it's taking place.
Kelly, do you have ours? Because I think ours
don't. So if you want to send that over, I'll include that in that section of the
Wendy, I would love that too, because that's one of the items that I want is to get that. I like to do the review. I'd like to get the review done before the end of the year so they see, you know what I'm saying, and get their bonus and everything before. We used to do it like in February or March, and I just feel like that's too late. It should be done within that year. And
Mhm.
so I wanted to work on that with my board for December. So thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Go ahead, Bruce.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Yeah.
talk so much.
No.
Diana, you said bonus? Is that unique or is that usual in what chapters do?
Well, our chapter has our area is very unique, right? South Florida. And so we've always given our chapter executive director a bonus based on different criteria from what I'm understanding. And we actually like to do that for our chapter executive director. I'm not saying it's something that has to be done, that I think it's just something we do. Sorry about that. If I, opened
No,
up
we-
something different.
No, sorry. No, that's good.
We do it as well.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. They're very important. Our chapter executive directors are so important to us. Our chapter executive director is, and our chapter has always done it. I like to see it going, and it can be no less than whatever this is that we've agreed to, or it can be more based on, wonderful things that have happened in the chapter. Who knows? But we meet, the executive committee meets the board and executive board, sorry, and then we get that
We
going. But
I think Kelly, you were part of that process.
Mhm.
We do it, there's incentivized things in his contract, and if he
Yeah.
meets those, and there's different tiers, one of it's growth and one of it's retainment. So but yeah, it's been a very helpful thing. But Kelly's really, national, of course, but Kelly's been integral in helping us with a lot of these things. So
Yeah.
I would love that, Wendy and Kelly, because I want to get that going. That's a conversation that right after Thanksgiving, I want to get that going. We also have a committee. We're meeting with all of our committee chairs and committees and having everyone sign their NDAs and get them all rah for 2026, motivated and going. And so we're getting everything done before the end of the year because our last meeting was November. So we had our election and our board meeting, and we're now working on end of the year and then next year right now. So
Yeah. And circling back to kind of the bonus structure. So every 2 years, we do a CED and staff salary and benefits survey. And one of the areas that we focus on is bonuses and taking a look at trends and things like that. So we are seeing an increase in bonuses overall. We still have 31% of our chapters that do not provide any sort of bonus to their chapter executive director or additional staff. We are also seeing a trend, though, of chapters moving towards a performance-based structure versus just a flat, by being here another year, you get, a bonus. It's, again, metrics like Wendy was referencing of if you meet this and some chapters they're tiered, but it's very transparent so they know that those expectations, and then we do have a small percentage of chapters, it's 6%, that is commission based, and so that is usually based on the sponsorship packages that are being sold, and that is one of their main responsibilities is to sell those packages. And so some of them, once they hit a certain level, they start to earn a commission off of those sales. I will say chapters are seeing kind of going away from that because then the focus gets so much on sales and not as much as the membership experience. So we are seeing a decline in that space. But again, that performance space, we are seeing an increase of bonuses related to that. So if anybody wants to go deeper into some of those examples or what that could look like for your chapter, please let us know. Again, like Wendy said, I have that conversation with a lot of chapters, so we can definitely take a look at that. And especially, again, Bruce, knowing how close your chapter is to, in location wise, to some of our other California chapters like Wendy. Again, I think we could even open up some conversations there to see what's worked well in your region and things like that for Holly moving forward.
really quickly, I just threw the performance review in the chat, Kelly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so Diana, you can grab it there, but also what Emily threw in the chat, the CED salary survey results that Kelly referred to, it was extremely helpful in our planning session this year to review that with Kelly and to figure out where we were. We were, quite frankly, very concerned we were on the low side, and we found out we were like on the top tier. But it just helped us figure things out, and it still helped us build our incentives. So the data that CAI National provides is so helpful when you're planning.
I
That's good
really,
to hear. So thank you, because it's good to know that you guys are utilizing that information.
well, I appreciate all this information, and I'm going to take the time to read it all and get all that done so that I can evaluate it and get it to my team, my board, so that we can then implement it, and hopefully we can implement a lot of the stuff that I've just learned today for future. Because I think that's what's good, is that we always keep moving the chapters forward. And that's what's great about these collaborative meetings. And I have to tell you, these have been fantastic. Any that I've missed, I'm always sorry to have missed them, because I learn a lot here with you. And I truly appreciate it. All that you share in your time, Kelly and Emily and
All of the others, right? Like I'm glad that we're finding this space. I think this is one of those positives that came out of the pandemic, is being able to get all of you guys together to talk and work through everything. And speaking to that, we do have a couple of things that we have shared within the weekly, but we think it's important to highlight to all of you that are here, just to make sure, allow you to ask any questions about any of these things. A lot of it is also in the hands of your chapter staff in terms of getting it out to your chapter, helping decide how active you want to be with any of these pieces. So one is our chapter awards. We will be opening that up soon. Not all chapters submit for awards, unfortunately. So I'd like to challenge everyone here. You guys have all been, I'm looking at all the faces and I'm like, oh, you guys have all been very active. Please take a look at the awards, and I am positive that at least one of them you have done successfully within your chapter that you would be able to submit with. So I would like to challenge all of you to, at least, if you haven't ever, to at least submit for one. If you have submitted in the past, please go ahead and continue to do that. I know I've had some conversations with some of you already about certain initiatives that I've seen taking place and how I think it would be great to put out there. So there's that kind of plug for that. So be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions about them or the submission process, please let us know. It is the same system that we use for chapter recertification that we use for the award submissions as well. So again, you can link multiple people to the awards if multiple people need to be involved in the submission process or the review of anything, but please let us know. I will also share that a lot of chapters make sure that they're editing their responses so that it is a good read when the judges are reviewing them. It's very hard when you're reading and there's a lot of misspelling, or there's not areas that we ask specifically for, and those aren't included. So please just do a review of that submission. It goes a long way for the judging process. So that you get the points for everything versus not being able to get the points because you didn't answer the question.
And I would
Emily?
say, yeah, add as much detail as you can. The judges they give their comments, and I share those comments with the chapters, but a lot of times what they're saying is, tell us more about that. So really pretend that the judges know nothing about your program. We actually have a mix of people that judge. So we have CAI members. It would never be one from your chapter. So we make sure that it's someone, around the country. We also have association professionals, so people who manage nonprofits. We also have usually at least one of those judging as well. So someone outside of the community association space, but really familiar with associations like CAI. So pretend like they know nothing about your program and share all those awesome details. And they usually want to see data. So they want to see if you're saying it increased your membership, how much, what's, the excitement that you're seeing behind it, all of those things. So just add that detail.
Thank you. Any questions about awards, the process, submissions? Go ahead, Diana.
So I'm sorry if I'm late to this, but where is this wonderful information that you've just shared on the awards so that we can get started?
Yeah,
don't-
so
It
ahead,
will
Emily.
be, so we will be releasing by the end
Oh,
of the month,
okay.
the new awards
Okay.
submission. It will be, this categories will be the same as last year, and they will be due, usually it's the second Friday in February is when they are due.
Oh, wow. So we have to work on them like in December and January to
Yes.
submit them in February. Okay.
Yep, and it should be anything from the 2025 calendar year.
Right. 2025. Thank you.
And I'll drop in, I'm grabbing the link right now to our past chapter awards, so you can at least get, if you want to take a look at that page and or even see what categories, what won last year. And I do want to just clarify too that this is one of those things where it is divided by chapter size, so that a small chapter is not competing against an extra large chapter. So we do break that down by size for the winners.
Kelly, I
go
think
ahead.
we got really down into the details, which was awesome discussion about the new recertification requirements.
Mhm.
And I think you just shared the one with the CED review. Did you share the other one? I think we got involved in that conversation.
I was going to say, I
So-
know we didn't talk about the audit. What was the other? And
the
then
other one is we're going to be requiring our chapter executive directors to either attend the training at annual conference or the CED retreat, or at least 5 water cooler sessions or chapter knowledge series. So this is really just in an effort to get our chapter we find that our chapter executive directors that are super engaged, it's really helpful for those chapters. So we are going to ask that they either attend the annual conference or the CED retreat, or they can attend at least 5 water coolers or chapter knowledge series. And I know many of you on here, your chapter executive directors are probably attending all of the water coolers, and all the things. But that is going to be one of the requirements.
How do we know?
Not this year, it'll be next year.
our water coolers are sharing monthly sharing sessions just like this, just for the chapter CEDs. And then the chapter knowledge series are specialized webinars that we usually have about 10 of in a year. And they range on different topics that affect either, some of them have been open to you, but a lot of them are more operational or professional development towards the staff. And so they're dedicated for that. So in terms of that virtual access for them, they should have about, I would say, 20 options to hit that 5. And while looking at it this past year, there was only one chapter staff that would have been affected by this change. So I think, again, like Emily said, the majority are already active in some way, but we just want to make sure that the chapters are allowing for that space. We've heard some feedback that there's just not that, again, understanding of why is it important to make sure that your chapter is attending some of these things, or is it really necessary for my executive director to go to retreat and things like that. And we really do find that it's important.
I think it's very important. I hope they're
Mhm.
all attending.
Yeah. And again, I don't think it's anyone on this call that has that misconception. So, and then another piece that this will be for a lot of your chapters. We do have a select few that this won't, but you should have received information and your chapter executive director that if your chapter is required to do an audit or review of your 2025 financials, that will be due in the 2026 recertification cycle, which is submitted in 2027. So take a look at that, see where you fit. If you have any questions, on that matter, please let us know. We have shared with your chapter staff some different firms that have worked with chapters the past round, so that if you are looking for a new partner in this process, we do kind of have a list of some of those. So again, if you have any questions about that, please let us know. So that would be for your fiscal year 2025, again, to take place during 2026 to submit in January of 2027. Lots of the dates being thrown out there.
And so that will actually be most of you because we started this process with the 2022 financials. So that will be most all of you if you're on that 3-year cycle. That when we started, 2025 will be the year that you will need to have your review or audit. So, and again, we sent the email to your chapter executive directors, as Kelly said, letting them know, hey, it's time, and here's some firms that you can look at.
Okay, so the next piece that we wanted to share is we have launched a new homeowner course. It is free. It is more geared towards homeowner leaders, so people sitting in that board position, but it does have some information that is good for just regular homeowners to get a better understanding of how do boards function. So this is a free, open to the public course. We have sent the materials if you want to market or utilize that in any way to your chapter staff. So they have that. We have printed things that you can have at your in-person events, you know, a sign or a flyer. We also have digital versions of that. One of the things that we're doing throughout this process is we are collecting the information of who is attending this. So if there's anyone who is a non-member, we will be collecting that data and at certain points sending that back to your chapters as potential prospects for you as well. We will of course be, you know, communicating with them too, but we wanted to make sure that a lot of the times at the local level is really where we see the homeowner leaders participating at. So we felt that it was very important for you to have that information at the local level too. So again, it's a free course. There's no charge whether you're a member or non-member, because we feel like that basic knowledge is really important. And it's kind of that predecessor to for our board leaders who sit in those leadership roles to move forward and take that board leader certificate course that all of the chapters offer locally. So if you have any questions about that course, or if you get feedback at the local level, please make sure it's getting shared back to us so that we can make sure that we're improving on that course where needed. Emily, I see you're off mute. Did you have anything to add to that one?
I was just going to share, actually it was Holly Bruce that reached out and said she was really thinking about how she could use this for recruitment, and she really wanted to push it through the management companies. So, you know, I encourage all of you to use that to reach out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the final piece is I'm sure you're starting to see on social media. If you don't follow us on social media, LinkedIn and Facebook are our two main social media platforms. I do recommend linking back to us. But we have started the Love Where You Live and Love Where You Work campaigns. So really we're collecting testimonials from our members within communities. If Dawn or any of our Board of Trustees members come out to your chapters, they might be performing some interviews. We might be doing that if we attend some of your chapter events too as assistants, just again to start collecting that. Again, if you want to participate along with us at those local levels, I know a lot of chapters already have kind of your why for CAI and things like that. So that's just building upon that. And really trying to showcase the positive life of the community association living model, and also the working model of all of our business partners and managers, and why these are great careers and really helping build that career path as well. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, we do have a link in the chat for you. But again, your chapter executive directors have all the materials, have all of those pieces. And so I think that is just a great way to jump on to an initiative of showing the positives of the campaign. So if you do have any questions about that, please let us know. But we think it will be a great, wondrous, positive light for our industry. And then the final piece for today is we also have our Recruiter Club campaign going on right now. So I know some chapters do a Recruiter Club or recruitment campaigns. If you want to tag on to this as well, your chapter staff does have access to recruitment or recruiter reports within their live report polls. So they can pull that at any time. With the caveat that the person needs to list their recruiter when they're being recruited. Now, if it's someone who was a member last year and they just didn't rejoin and they come, back and renew, that is not considered a new member. So they would not get those recruitment points for that person. Or if it is a board member just getting added into their board roster for their community who already has a membership, again, that person would not count as a new member. It has to be a truly new member to CAI. But if you are looking at those reports, and for example, let's say Wendy knows that she had talked to this person and they didn't list someone as their recruiter and it should be listed as Wendy, you can let us know. We can go back into their record and list that. So specifically, if you're doing the campaign locally, it's good to just take a look at those lists of who was recruited and see if they were recruited by anybody. But so we do have that national campaign going on right now as well. Diana, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had this discussion with Lawrence, who I adore, and also with my chapter executive director, Joe, because we noticed that a lot of the recruiters' names, and I'm going to use myself, okay, because it's mainly me that I know, but others too, don't show up. And we don't understand why. Like I'll have where I brought in a community and they'll say, Diane, I only know that because they'll text me and say, Diane, I joined. I say, oh, well, thank you. Sometimes I actually fill out the application for them, send it to them. My name's on there. They get it. They submit it with their credit card to you guys because I give them all the instructions what to do. And guess what? My name's never on there. And I haven't known it for years that it wasn't on there or something. So and then it'll be fixed and then it will be off again. So it's like a very strange thing with your system that I have to tell you. Sometimes it'll be on, sometimes it'll be off. I don't know how accurate it is. We tried to do the recruiter for our chapter, and I know for a fact that some people have brought people in and it's not on there, and there's nothing I can do. If it's not written down for me, anybody, you can't do anything about it. So I think you guys need to look into that because I have seen it for like the past 4 years as an issue.
Yeah, if people are dropping off, we should definitely be knowing that. I know one of the issues is it actually being on there and the person being an active member at the time of it being listed. So for example, if your membership had expired and they put Diana on there, it wouldn't link because you don't have an active membership within CAI. Right.
When they rejoin, it'll show it again. It's not a new member. I mean, and one of them I can give you, this is a very good one that I gave to Emily. Emily, I gave you this one recently. If you're, there you are. Everyone moves around a little bit. So one of them was a law firm that I met at an event about 4 years ago. I brought them into not only my chapter, but all the chapters in Florida. They're now in Louisiana. They're now somewhere else. I forgot where else they're going now. And it's interesting because I happened to notice they weren't on mine. So then I asked, well, I'm not on any of them. And I filled out every single one of their forms for the Florida chapters with her on the phone. Took us about 2 hours. We filled them out and my name is not anywhere on them. And I brought that law firm in. So it's an interesting, that one I happened to notice just recent. I don't know. I brought it up to you, Emily, recently, remember? And I know you fixed it. And it's just that I don't know if there's a true sampling of who is really recruiting for you guys. And I'm sorry to bring it up, but it is something that
No, it's definitely good information to have. So we'll definitely bring it back to the team. I also do want to share that we know that there's some issues with some of our process within the current system that we have, and we are in the process of looking at that new AMS system. So hopefully in the future, again, some of these items will be fixed in this new system with that, but we'll definitely bring that back to that team, Diana, so that we can look deeper into that. So thank you. All right, so we just have a couple more minutes left. I do want to open it up to see if anyone has anything left for the group. Go ahead, Bruce.
Two pressing issues we've had in the last week, and I'm curious what other chapters do. Let me just throw them out. One, we limit a member to one chairmanship of a committee, even though some have wanted to do more than one, and some are very talented and could do more than one. Really be a benefit to chapter. And two, board members at our annual gala in January are exempt from receiving awards. And that policy came about several years ago because it seemed like only board members were being called up on stage and given awards. And we have some board members that kind of want awards this year and they can't get one. So I'm curious what others do.
Well, I can speak to, I mean, I serve as chair on a couple of committees. So, I mean, it happens in our chapter. Nobody's just really, sometimes it seems like people want to be on the committee, but being the leader of it, it's different. You know, there's just a different structure there. And not everybody has that skill set or likes doing it. And so some of the chapter committees, they will cycle through because it makes sense, like an education committee, but something like, you know, marketing, for example, you know, you might have a really good leader for marketing and somebody that also does like events, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, we have it. There's no issue on our chapter with it, but I could see maybe it being an issue to prevent other people from being able to like take a role if they wanted it, you know, if there wasn't an opportunity of speaking up.
We
And that's
allow
happened.
sorry. We allow board members to serve as chairs, but we also have the succession planning in place. So like the goal is to have them be there for 2 years, and then the vice chair take over. And they come to the board if something, I mean, the board ratifies the chairs every year anyway, so we're tracking that. But that allows for people who maybe are a leader or they're 1 year into their term as a chair and then they join the board. Like we don't cut off our nose to spite our face. Like we have succession planning in place. We approve longer stints as chair if needed, but usually leadership grows leadership. So it's not been an issue. Additionally, we do not prevent a board member, again, it's a member vote, from winning an award. That said, we did change our rules for awards in that you could only win one award. So if you were nominated for 2, but you were only allowed to win one, the exception is that we do have executive director role awards, mentor awards, and board president awards, but we separate those out in the award process. So if the vote of your peers, if 200 people vote for a board member to win an award, we let them win an award. I hope that helped.
Wendy, I would love for you to send me that. That's great. I love everything you have to say today and everyone else, but I love that you have it so organized. So I'm super about organization. So I love it, but I will answer Bruce to your, question about that. And every chapter is different and unique with your unique area that you're in as well. Our board, we have a nice, robust board in our in our chapter. So what we've done is we want each board member to be a liaison and even co-liaisons so that we can, as Wendy said, kind of identify and mentor and bring in new leadership for growth, continued growth in the chapter. We're also looking at our YP. That's probably our strongest committee is our YP, and our president-elect for next year is actually a YP member. Very cool for us. He's probably going to be the youngest president in our chapter ever, but he's earned it. He has got active since he came in. He's been very active. He got on the board. He's the treasurer. He was on a committee, and went on, and now he's president-elect. So it's a very interesting dynamic when you look at having these committee chairs actually, chairing and leading and getting things motivated in the chapter for you, and it brings in a lot more engagement. So I tend to think that the way our chapter is doing it works for us, that we're just liaisons as board members. Believe me, I'd chair that membership committee every year if I could, but I can't. I'm a liaison. And I gave it up this year and gave it to two board members are now chairing. They're the liaisons for our membership committee. And I think it's so awesome. So we have a chair and we have two board members who are liaisons for membership, and they have a goal to meet for us for next year. So I think it works that way for us.
Diana, just to let you know, I did put our award categories that we refined and how you can win them into the chat. We also don't let the person that won the award the previous year win it again in the same category. So it's very clearly outlined. And also like our presentation of the year for education, we make it everyone votes on the QR code. And so then it's based on those that attended and who gets the highest rating. And then the top 5 get reviewed by the education committee chairs along with the awards subcommittee. So it's very detailed out on how we present things, but I hope that helps. And it's in the chat for anyone that wants to download. And
I just downloaded it, and I do want to share that we did 2 years ago or 3 years ago, I think we implemented something that was very cool, and then we went away from it. So, and I want to see if you do this, Wendy. Maybe you can have a better version of this for me as well. And this is something we did. Remember, we talked about points, but it really wasn't points. It was just a check mark of. It's not like you get 10 points or 30. It's just how many X's do you get? In this whole report type thing. And our chapter executive director used to report it at the meetings, and it worked out very nice because it made everyone feel good about, wow, I attended this, and this. So I think that that's something that is maybe a good thing to implement again this year. So if you have something like that where when the CED gives their report, they can show who attended what events. And then when it comes time for awards or anything, I'm talking anything that we did, anything.
Yeah, we unfortunately send ours out to the membership to vote. So we don't do a point system. We don't do a tracking system. We literally just put the nominees out, and we had over 300 people vote. And the nice part was the award winners in each category won it wasn't close. So it felt like it wasn't just a popularity contest. It was really a merit earned. But so that's why we don't do it on a point system. Here's the thing, you're going to have people that complain about anything. Point system can be arbitrary, popular vote can be arbitrary, committee vote can be arbitrary. You just do the best you can. And what our goals were in the last few years was to really expand inclusion, and that allowed for this process. So
on that note, so then do you do e-voting with it? Are you using the electronic voting? Okay, good. And that's where you use the QR where they can do it on. Okay, so I like that too. So one is to incorporate for leadership, right? Because that you need to know who's engaged. But I like the awards that way, and it's very anonymous. So I like that. So thank you for that. I'm going to look at it. I already downloaded it. Thank you.
And Bruce, I think the recommendation is look at your chapter and the culture of what makes sense. What are the issues from your members? If it's a person serving in multiple committees? Is it because there's not room on the committees for it? Is it because that person is too spread out and so work's not being done and so they're not being an active member of all of the committees because they're stretched? Or is it the opposite, that we need the people and this person is super engaged and would be great to serve on another committee? And so is that hindering that process? And I think the same thing with the awards. You know, if it's only the board members winning awards and it feels like, oh, it looks and there's, I forget what the saying is, but the view of what people see is 90% of the reality, even if it's not. And so if people are thinking, oh, this is just the board recognizing themselves and no one else has a chance of winning the awards, maybe that's why originally that was pulled away from, and maybe that's not the case any longer. So I think definitely take a look at the culture and kind of what some of those issues were, maybe why some of those things were in place, and has the culture of your chapter changed? And so some of those changes can be made. So I don't think there's a hard, steadfast one way or another. All right. Well, this was a great conversation today. Thank you so much for all being so engaged. We hope that you have a great Thanksgiving. As a reminder, our offices are closed that Thursday and Friday of that holiday. We hope to see you at our final one in December of this sharing session. It's been great. In the meantime, if you guys have questions about anything, please reach out and let us know. But otherwise, have a great Friday. Bruce, good luck with your storms coming in. Hopefully they don't get too bad for you guys. And we will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for today.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good job.
Excellent. Thank you.